We have many people who have already signed up to speak. We've been allocated 2 hours for this public hearing, so everyone will have 60 seconds to speak. I will call the names of the person who will speak first, then I will call a second name for the person who will be on deck to speak. Our first speaker will be Kathy Hess-Krause. Second will be Wendy Peters.
More chairs down there. You can go ahead and call first 5.
We'll put some more chairs down there. I'll call the first 5. Kathy Hess-Krause, Wendy Peters, Colleen Brailes, Roy Ramey, and McDaniel. Please. Thank you.
And also, if you have written comments you want to submit to the record, just bring it to the podium.
Yeah, we did that.
I'd like to remind you that if you have written comments, once you've spoken, you can leave them with the clerk. Thank you. Ms. Krause.
Thank you, Delegate Wilson. I'm Kathy Hess-Krause. I'm a mom of 5, and I'm here to speak for school choice in West Virginia students and parents. As an outspoken advocate for homeschooling, I've helped thousands of parents learn more about homeschooling. And while learning about that, I've learned about their children and their struggles and their strength. Quote from Albert Einstein says, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid." Through the years, I have been reminded of this. Each student learns differently, at a different pace, in different ways, and under different circumstances. We just need to find their genius. One size does not fit all, and parents and students need school choice because of that. If we put this off another 10, 15, 20 more years, we're going to lose another generation of children. We need to stand strong, make these changes. Now is your time to make a difference that will be remembered for generations to come. A difference.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Wendy Peters. Please note that when the red light goes off, your time is up. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Wendy Peters. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I am a teacher, I'm a native West Virginian, but most importantly, I'm the mother of a child with autism. I have some concerns about this bill, some grave concerns. One concern I have with charter schools is that children with special needs may not have Policy 2419 and IDEA put in place. You know, those are some major concerns that I have. I think we're jumping into something that we do not need to jump into without doing thorough research. And the statistics show that charter schools are not the answer. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Brailes.
Good morning. My name's Colleen Broyles, and I'm a special education teacher in Raleigh County. Our public schools are not broken, but many of our homes and communities are broken, and our public schools are struggling as a result. When a student is struggling, we take the steps to find out why. Parents, guardians, teachers, counselors, principals come together, and we talk about why that student is struggling. Then we take steps to try to help them. We take into account what the students and team members say, and if we listen and address those issues, then everything else will fall into place. What we do not do is throw in controversial and unreliable ideas, then tell the group that they can take it or leave it. We do not want to keep the status quo. We are begging for help and change, but charter schools, ESAs, and punishing public school employees is not the change that will help our students, our schools, and our state. We need help with our students with trauma. We need help with our students from poverty. We need more support staff and training for all public school employees. We need to build up our communities, our homes, and our schools. I'm exhausted, but in every possible way.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Roy Ramey.
Thank you. My name is Roy Ramey, and I'm from Cabell County, and I appreciate this opportunity. I have spent more than 30 years of my life serving this country in the military and continue to serve. I'm close to a retirement, thankfully, and several of the folks in my family have served, and none of us served to serve an overbearing government or to allow that to happen. We served to serve the people of this country and to allow unlimited freedom as was guaranteed to us in the Constitution. Now, in that freedom, we should have unlimited choices, and we can't have choices if we don't have a choice to make. So I'm actually advocating in favor of this bill, and furthermore, with an amendment to the bill to not limit how many charter schools should be allowed. There's no reason to limit that freedom. Sir, I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Ann McDaniel, and while she's coming, Christy Black, Thomas Dilley, Jerry Cholinsky, Luann Wright, and Jesse Troyan, please.
My name is Ann McDaniel. I'm the Executive Director of the West Virginia Statewide Independent Living Council, which is a cross-disability entity required under federal and state law. Federal law requires a free, appropriate public education for every child. A strong public school system that does not segregate any child away from their typical peers is what we care about. Drawing resources away from public schools is not positive. Our public schools are already underfunded, and there is concern that charter schools for special needs students will be used to segregate students with disabilities. Removing them from their most integrated setting placement to a special needs charter school or other segregated setting would be a step backward for the student and for their peers. Children who learn to understand, accept, respect, and value differences grow up with to help create a better society.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Christy Black.
Good morning. My name is Christy Black. I'm the advocacy specialist with the West Virginia Developmental Disabilities Council, but most importantly, I'm the mother of two daughters, Avery, who's 2, and Gracie, who is 15, going in the 8th grade. Many of you all have met Gracie. Gracie has Down syndrome. West Virginia is ranked 3rd highest in percentage of students who receive special education services, and due to the high average of students receiving special ed services, this bill makes it difficult for both traditional and charter schools to be able to provide the services and supports that are required. This bill would decrease the funding for our students with disabilities in traditional public schools. In fact, this bill promotes segregated schools for students with disabilities. The definition of to segregate is to separate from the rest, isolate, divide. The bill splits funding, it splits resources, it splits expertise, and it does not provide a level playing field for all students. Our education system is broken.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Thomas Dilley.
Hello, good morning. My name's Tom Diddy, actually not Dilly. I'm a retired teacher with 30 years experience, and I've taught everything from grade school to grad school. I last served as Department Chair of Education at a local university in West Virginia. I'm here to tell you that we have plenty of private opportunities for students to attend schools. We do not need additional charter schools. We do not need to legislate charter schools. We need to improve the schools that we have. Our problem is, until we improve families, we're not going to improve education. We need to devote resources to address, how to have a family, how to care for a family, how to take care of students' needs. What we do as educators today is we're their parents, we're their support, and we devote a lot of time outside education, outside the teaching hours, to helping students address their problems.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cholinsky.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Cholinsky. I'm a speech pathologist with the Boone County School System. I've been doing that for 42 years now. I come here to ask you, why are we even debating this? The public has already spoken. They do not want charter schools. They do not want educational savings accounts. They do nothing but damage the public school system. I ask you to listen to the public. Unlike your colleagues from the other side who choose to listen to them but ignore them. Act at the public's will. They do not want charter schools or the savings accounts. Do your jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wright.
At the last public hearing in the House, I asked you to take into consideration the following things that affect student performance: poverty, truancy, drugs, homelessness, living without traditional nuclear family. The WVDE went around the state and discovered that the majority of the attendees also saw a need for wraparound services that help children combating these issues. If you provide these services without an opportunity to see results before moving to institute charter schools, it tells us that you don't trust us. I'd like to ask you to put charter schools on the back burner and give us the opportunity to work with expanded services. A mentally and physically well child is a successfully learning child. A successfully learning child becomes a member of our workforce. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Troyan, Dinah Adkins, Steve Wiseman, Doug Douglas, Julie Samples, Scott Fairchild, please.
Good morning, thank you. I'm Dr. Jessie Troyan with the Cardinal Institute for West Virginia Policy, and I'm here this morning in support of House Bill 206. See, the challenge facing improvement of our overall education system is kind of like solving a Rubik's Cube. Each of the aspects are interrelated and dependent upon one another. Teacher compensation, wraparound services, hard-to-fill positions, flexibility in the classrooms, empowering students, families, and educators to find the environment that best fits their needs, and empowering local control throughout the state. Completing the solid on one side of the Rubik's Cube doesn't solve the whole puzzle. House Bill 206 looks at the whole Rubik's Cube and attempts to solve the whole thing together. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Adkins.
Good morning. My name is Dinah Adkins. I'm the co-president of the Kanawha County Education Association, the local affiliate of the WVEA, a retired teacher and a substitute presently working in Kanawha County schools. I'm speaking to give voice to the thousands who can't be here to speak to you today, who agree that House Bill 206 should not be passed. They are working a second or third job, participating in in-service, taking care of children and parents and neighbors who are having health issues or their own health issues. Our delegates should serve the public. As a Republican, I'm asking some of you who know this bill is detrimental to public schools to vote no on House Bill 206. If I were in your place, no amount of money promised to my county, no amount of threats to take away a committee position, no amount of bullying to vote against my conscience would make me sacrifice my integrity. Please vote no on House Bill 206 and walk out those doors with your integrity intact. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wiseman.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Steve Wiseman. I'm the Executive Director of the West Virginia Developmental Disabilities Council, established by executive order and the Developmental Disabilities Act federally. The Council is dedicated to the enhancement and the support of productivity, integration, inclusion, and independence for people of all ages. DD Council cannot support public policy that would or could result in further segregation of students with developmental and other disabilities from their non-disabled peers. While well-intended, the advent of charter schools as envisioned in the bill would likely result in those vulnerable students being marginalized and separated. The promises to some parents of specialized intensive training for students, such as students who have autism, cannot overcome the damage done long-term from this separation and marginalization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Douglas.
Good morning. My name is Doug Douglas. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. First thing I want to say is I have no vested interest in this matter. I don't care about a group named ALEC. I don't care about Mitch Carmichael. I don't care about posters and slogans and chants. What I do care about is my son and his education, his opportunity for success in life. And I think I'm part of the silent majority in this state that wants to see some initiatives taken and some progressive education reform. If you all believe the status quo is fine, then just put more money at the problem, pass the pay raise, and just drop the rest of it. But if you think that change is needed, improvement is needed, then you need to make some changes and pass some bills here that would allow that. If you can admit that to yourself. Education reform boils down to one main thing: accountability. Accountability to improve student achievement. That's accountability of the administrators, the State Board of Ed, County Board of Ed, the principals, and the superintendents. It's accountability of teachers, who many do a fine job. I have some great friends that are great teachers. And it's accountability of you as our elected representatives. Please take that accountability for my son's
Thank you,
education.
sir. Ms.
and pass the
Samples.
bill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Samples, and I teach second grade in Putnam County. I think most of you already made your decision about how you will vote today. In my classroom, I ask my students, if you can hear my voice, raise your hand. So today I ask the House, if you can hear my voice, raise your hand. I went to school to be a teacher, and I feel confident in doing the things I was taught in teacher school. I can teach reading and math with my hair on fire. But every single day in my classroom, I'm asked to do so much more than teach. But I do my best and do what I know how to do. I love them, I listen to them, I feed them, I wash their clothes and backpack, and I call CPS when I need to. I've been learning a lot about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and becoming a trauma-informed classroom, but I need help. We need a full-time counselor and nurse in every school. Charter schools will not fix the problems in our West Virginia schools. Listen to the people that work with West Virginia kids and do something to help all West Virginia kids. This bill will not do that. If you can hear my voice, please vote no on this omnibus bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Fairchild. While he's coming up, could we please have Amber Brown, Jim Lawless, Michelle Seibert, Walt Klein, and Nicole McCormick.
You've already heard many impassioned remarks about this bill. I'm not going to duplicate those efforts. Instead, I'm just going to read some recent headlines from across the state. I'll probably only get through 2019, which indicate a need for additional parental school choice to help all students succeed. Mercer County, lawsuits claim abuse and mistreatment of preschool children. Cabell County, Putnam County Sheriff arrests school employee, foster care charity worker on sexual abuse charges. Greenbrier West High School counselor sentenced to 6 months in prison for changing daughter's grades. Jackson County, Ripley High School employee suspended after sexual abuse complaints. Cabell County BOE fires Meadows Elementary principal. This principal allowed a man who was being pursued by police into the school during school hours. Ohio County, man claims teacher sexually abused him for 14 years, says Wheeling Park principal knew. Harrison County, assistant principal accused of harassing transgender boy loses job.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Brown.
Good morning. My name is Amber Brown, and I am a first grade teacher in Putnam County. Look, our kids need help, and we need help to help our kids. Our kids have a lot of needs, emotional needs. We need wraparound services. I think that the state has been pretty clear with that in surveys, forums, and those types of events. People have said we need more help for our kids. Charters are not the way to go. Privatization is not the way to go. When private interests have taken stake in public education, it is no longer public education. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lawless.
Good morning. My name is Jim Lawless. My wife and I are both employed with Jackson County Schools. Teaching is a noble profession, but is demoralizing when our expertise is not acted upon. We are made to feel selfish when we seek to be compensated at a rate commensurate with our education level and years of experience, yet we continue to fight. We fight for the future of West Virginia and for our West Virginia children. Our voices seem to have fallen on deaf ears as it is Groundhog Day once again here at the Capitol. Your constituents have voiced their wishes throughout the educational forums, yet here we are again. Time after time, we repeat our message and clearly state what is needed to reform education: smaller class sizes, increased support services, and assistance with the social and emotional needs of our students. Failing to implement these much-needed suggestions will continue to drive highly qualified teachers from this state and profession. Is that going to take a financial investment? Of course, but you get what you pay for. Dividing up the continuously underfunded public schools budget and giving it to charter schools to provide redundant services is a waste of money and improves nothing. Invest in the system you already
Ms. Seibert.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Seibert. I'm from Randolph County Schools. I teach third grade there. Today I am reading a statement from a Board of Education member. Thank you for this opportunity to address the legislature and those in attendance. My work schedule has prohibited me from attending in person. My name is Rachel Anger. I am the parent of 3 children who all attend Randolph County Schools. I work in a federally qualified health care center providing primary care to the children in Randolph and surrounding counties. In 2016, I ran and was ultimately elected to our local school board. I was ambitious and energetic. I wanted to improve our education system. I value education and children, so it was a natural fit. I have over and over been disappointed and disheartened by my inability to cause much change for the betterment of our children. I have lived within state's funding formula. This means I
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Klein.
Hello, I'm Walt Klein. I'm a special ed teacher from Mingo County. Why must we always take the bad with the good? There's some good components in this bill that can help a lot of people, but there's 3 detrimental components in this bill: charter schools, RIF seniority, and continued posting. 88% of the public has spoke to the charter school, so I'll move on to the RIF seniority component. It's detrimental to educators. It invites nepotism and an opportunity for the Good Old Boys Club to run rampant. An example would be if a money-strapped county has to reduce the workforce. Take a 20-year experienced certified teacher with good evaluations and a master's degree that makes $48,000 a year, and a second-year experienced teacher that makes $35,000 a year that has yet to master the subject of their content. Which one should we keep? It should be a no-brainer. But maybe at some point in time, this 20-year educator has had to stand up for a student's rights to see that their needs are being met and butt heads with the principal or the superintendent. In some instances, it's an opportunity to retaliate
Thank you, sir.
against
Ms.
the veteran
McCormick.
teacher.
Could we please have Mr. O'Neill, Mr. Martin, Ms. Coakley, Ms. Allison, and Mr. White? Thank you.
My
If
name
you
is
have,
Nicole.
I'm sorry, ma'am, excuse me for a moment. If you have written notes, you can submit them up here. Thank you.
My name is Nicole McCormick. I'm the president of the Mercer County Education Association. I'm also a music teacher in Mercer County. I've been teaching for 10 years. I have 4 children. My spouse is also an educator. And my question to anyone that would vote for this legislation is, who are you listening to? Because you're not listening to us. You're not listening to the majority of West Virginians that took the time to go to these forums. You're not listening to the educators who make amazing things happen with children that are in desperate situations every single day. We go to funerals of parents that have overdosed. We buy book bags. We buy prom tickets. We take our last $5 to put towards the fundraiser that we really don't have. We know how difficult it is to make ends meet on the salary that we make, and yet here we are standing against legislation that could potentially give us a pay raise. We are the experts. We are the ones that live this life every day. You never stop being an educator.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. O'Neill.
$105,000. That's how much the special session on education has cost taxpayers to this point. That money could fund 3 beginning teacher salaries. Our legislators are listening to the wrong people. Some quoted the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce's biased report. Legislators cited numbers from the Cardinal Institute, part of the State Policy Network, a group that gets its funding from large corporations. Just yesterday, House members listened to lobbyists from the American Federation for Children, a group funded by the DeVos family. And finally, Americans for Prosperity, a Koch brothers-sponsored group, spent over $100,000 pushing for school privatization in West Virginia. Do you really think these out-of-state billionaires and corporations care about the education of West Virginia children? They're not the people we should be listening to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Martin?
June 19, 1865, the abolishment, at the beginning of the abolishment of slavery. Yet today, many of our children are academically enslaved. This body has done nothing to advance 18312. Look it up in the West Virginia Code. This legislation has done nothing to address the documented research-based achievement gap between African American and Caucasian. It has done nothing to address the disproportionate suspension and expulsion of African American students compared to Caucasian students. Thank you, Delegate Mike Pushkin, for your attempt to get introduced a summer youth employment bill with a academic enrichment component attached that was pulled, that won't even be listened to. A simple request by Delegate Pushkin to extend
Sir, please keep your comments to the bill at hand.
A program to address at-risk students.
Sir, please keep your comments to the bill at hand.
This is related to the bill.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Copley.
Good morning. In the real world, unlike here in West Virginia, the concepts of charter schools are not working. We can't and shouldn't be able to come to West Virginia and rip apart one thing just to start another. Opening a charter school by robbing public schools of funds and arbitrarily making up your own set of rules with no consequences is not the approach needed. If you want to create a charter school, it should be done with no public funds. I encourage all of you to say no to this bill.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Allison.
Hello, my name is Barbara Allison, and I'm here to talk about what's working. Doddridge County is working, and why is it working? It's because they're taxing the oil and gas industry that's in their county, and they're fully funding their schools, they're feeding their kids, they're building facilities, they're creating places where the students want to come. That's why they are succeeding. We have the ability here. We are the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. If we do a 2% severance tax on natural gas, have that all go to education and funding PEIA, yes, the elephant in the room that isn't being talked about, then we could fund everything. We're now fighting over a small pot that is like having a three-legged hunting dog. That dog can hunt with 3 legs, but if you put charter schools and ESAs on there, you now have a 2-legged dog. The 2-legged dog cannot hunt. So unless you want to increase the pot of money that is going in, none of these things are going to work. Let's talk about...
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. White? And could I please have Sam Urich, Mary Jo Thomas, Julio Jett, Barb Selly, and Heather DeLuca Nestor. Thank you.
Joe White with WVSSPA. I stand here today and my heart is hurting that the voice of West Virginia has 60 seconds to speak. But I'm going to throw my notes away as I prepared them because 88%, 77%, and 90% of the people that spoke in West Virginia is against charter schools, but people don't want to hear that. So I'm going to go to the end of my speech and free up some time. I work for the people of West Virginia. I work for 8,193 members, and here's what they're saying. What you've witnessed since 2018 is just the wind. You don't want to be here for the storm.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Urich. Keep order or I will shut down this hearing. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sam Urich, and I've been a substitute teacher for over 4 years. I've taught every age and ability level all over Raleigh County. As someone who's in a different classroom nearly every day, I can say that nearly all of them have kids who are impressive, both in terms of maturity and intellect. These kids set the example. They make the classroom more functional. Their feedback lets me know if I'm teaching effectively. They ask good questions and push me to satisfy their curiosity. However, if charter schools are siphoning off these kids, you're losing not only the engine of an engaged classroom, but a whole layer of leadership within the school itself. These kids' understanding of the world will be narrower and more insular for having left their classrooms, and their classrooms will be poorer for having lost them. Because of this, I ask that you vote no on 206. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Urich. Ms. Thomas.
I'm Mary Jo Thomas, President of the Marion County Board and Chair of the West Virginia School Board Association's Executive Legislative Committee. Our organization includes 275 elected board members. House Bill 206 appears more palatable than predecessor Senate bills. It brings greater clarity to issues like charter schools, although this organization is opposed to charter schools in principle. This bill provides flexibility to county boards. It removes many negative aspects directed at school employees. It strengthens local school improvement councils. It provides wraparound services. It ensures the teacher's recommendation is a primary consideration to determine student promotion. It makes changes to school innovation zones to enhance creativity. It greatly assists county boards having 1,400 or fewer students. We appreciate that county boards receive additional local share monies. We're pleased the bill increases
Thank you, ma'am.
school
Julio
employee
Jett.
salaries. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Holly Jett. I'm an educator at Kanawha County Schools. It's hard to talk about House Bill 206 when I know it's Amendment Day and it might change a lot from what it looks like now. But I want to talk about 3 things that I cannot compromise on, even though that I've been asked to yesterday. Public schools aren't failing children. Society is. I look at in the eyes of my students and I see kids with broken homes and kids that are hungry, and my classroom's 87 degrees, but we can afford charter schools. But anyway, I cannot compromise on charter schools. I cannot take money. I can't compromise. I also think that seniority is the fairest way to have a rift. I have taken lots of classes that I could not afford to get the transcript for, but I have the knowledge. But is that counted in the RIF? I don't think so.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sully?
Hi, my name is Barb, and I'm a teacher. My question to you is, why not lead the country and be innovators instead of implementing others' mistakes? Charter schools have been around for a long time. They're failing our students, and children are losing a place to go. The numbers are growing on how many are closing. I look out and see very few delegates. You're getting paid to do this job. When teachers don't do their job, we're called insubordinate. We're asked to be fired. Why can't we expect the legislatures to do the same thing? Remember, it's not a breach of contract when you don't do your job unless you don't want to do your job. And I see there's 24 people in this committee, and I don't see 24 people here. I want to remind delegates that you work for the people of West Virginia, not special interest groups. Is this really the people's house? Are we really doing what people want? I counted how many people said they didn't want the charter schools, and it was overwhelming. But why are we talking about this bill? Somebody's getting something somewhere.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Luca Nestor. May I please have Peggy Owens, Linda Boyd, Joy Kisner, Jamie Beth Hayes, and Crystal Adkins. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm the president. My name's Heather, and I'm the president of Monongalia County Education Association. And I have to tell Senate President Carmichael, we do not want charter schools in Mon County first. I wrote on my delegates, and I got a response telling me that Dale Lee has misinformed me regarding charter schools. I love Dale, but I don't sit around and wait on him to call me and tell me how to think. I'm an educator, and that's what I do. The Center, I know this is small, but the Center for Media and Democracy released this interactive map of the United States. It shows that between 2000 and 2013, over 2,500 charter schools closed, leaving 288,000 students without a school. The Washington Post just this year released that the Dems may seek cuts in charter school funding. Between 2009 and 2016, $1 billion has been wasted on schools that closed due to mismanagement. I love my students. My legislators don't know
Thank you,
that.
ma'am. Ms. Owens.
Hi, Peggy Owens, Pocahontas County. I'm one of the few teachers that has a lot to gain from this bill. And that's because after 37 years of teaching in Indianapolis, I retired to come home to West Virginia to teach where I belonged. Now, if you were to do the seniority thing, I would probably be able to get one of those jobs, even though I was riffed this year. But I think it's a bad idea because of the nepotism and so many things that could go wrong. Now, I was a prior administrator before I realized that I liked children better than adults. And I looked extensively in the Indianapolis area at opening a charter school. But I didn't like what I saw. There have been 35 charter schools in Indianapolis that have gone dead since 2011. 2 of them were just in the paper yesterday. And I hear a lot of people talking about charter schools and whether they like them or whether they don't. But I venture to say very few of you have ever set foot in one. You don't know any teacher that was in one. You don't know any students that were in them. Now, I
Thank
saw
you, ma'am.
in
Ms. Boyd.
Hello, thank you. I'm Linda Boyd. I'm a teacher in Raleigh County. I'm also the president of AFT in Raleigh County. I didn't really know what I was going to say here today, but the Lord weighed heavy on my heart last night and woke me in my sleep to remind me of a student that I had to watch be pulled from our school, leaving his foster care, going back home, begging to not be sent back home. I ask you, what does that say? What does that say about this child and why he didn't want to go home? Are those going to be the kind of parents that are going to support him in an endeavor to find a better choice? I think not. I don't believe that this child and child like him are for sale. They should not be for sale, and they would not be for sale if it weren't for outside
Thank you, ma'am. Ms.
influence.
Kinzer.
I'm Joy Kinzer. I'm a second grade teacher and parent of a fifth grader. Here we are again. From the very beginning, no actual stakeholders from West Virginia were asked to testify or aid in the creation of the first omnibus bill. We are now on the third omnibus bill for this year, and they all contain basically the same contentious items as the original bill. Although the State Department of Education, as well as many other groups and legislators, spent a great deal of money and effort to hear from stakeholders, and many legislators did attend these forums or read the reports, they still didn't listen. You can't just hear, you have to listen. They did not listen to the over 80% that did not ask for charters, ESAs, or attacks on educators. They did not listen to the hundreds more emails
Thank you,
and
ma'am.
phone
Ms.
calls.
Hayes.
It's not a positive amendment that county boards of education could decide whether such things as charter schools would be best in their county. I'm from Putnam County. I teach in a Putnam County elementary school. Remember us? Our leaders did not make a decision this year that would benefit our students, employees, parents, or our attempt to affect change. The decision to remain open this year did, however, show interest in following money and power. That is my evidence that no, it is not somehow better when I hear this. Absolutely no charter schools in West Virginia. Also, I'm surely not the only person wondering why some of you grapple with pay raises and funding for PEIA, then you come up with millions in payouts or tax credits against public education. If you can find all of this money, send it the way of public education. Provide us with these wraparound services to support our efforts to meet each child where he is. Seek to equip us with what we need. Don't force feed us everything that's wrong. Workers' voices need to be heard and honored. I suggest you...
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Adkins. May I please have Sarah Duncan, Ellen Shepard, Leanne Lorick, Perry Bryant, and Chelena McCoy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Crystal Atkins, and I'm a special education teacher from Marion County. I'm here today to advocate for my students because back in the spring, the West Virginia Department of Education had listening tours all across West Virginia. And people from all professions showed up at these tours. And 88% of West Virginia citizens said they did not want charter schools and no ESAs. What we need is wraparound services. We don't need to defund public education. We need to fund public education. Give us the services our students need. Thank you, and I hope once again you will take in consideration and vote no on Omnibus Bill 3.0 now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Duncan.
Hello. The reason the surveys and results of the statewide education forums have been ignored, the reason why all of these separate education issues are being put together in one omnibus bill again, despite the fact that the majority of citizens, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, believe they should be considered separately on their own merits, the reason this House has been split into 4 committees to try and bypass the correct and reasonable way of considering bills. The reason the legislators in the House of Delegates have been threatened with losing their committee assignments is this: charter schools couldn't pass on a standalone bill. Most people don't want them. Trying to force something on a majority that don't want something, that's not leadership, it's not vision, it's not betterment, it's arrogance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Shepherd.
Hi, my name is Ellen Shepard. I'm president of the Randolph County Education Association, a parent of 2 elementary school children, and a special education teacher. Green's law of economics says free market does not create superior product. It creates superior marketing. While you continue to listen to experts who stand to profit off this bill and you believe their candy-coated truths, remember they are experts in marketing. I stand here as an expert in children. I don't have a background in marketing. I don't have anything personal gain from this bill dying. In fact, I stand to lose a lot. I lose services for my kids. I lose a raise. I lose funding for education programs. So why do I stand here against it? As a whole, if this bill passes, we lose sustained equitable education for all children. We lose the battle on opioids and poverty. This body has voted against teachers, unions, and research in the past as you have fallen for bright and shiny marketing and promises for education reform. We told you Common Core wouldn't work. Millions of dollars of textbooks sitting in my classroom proved us right. We told you A through F rating scales won't work. Shiny signs and dumpsters show us we're right. Again, we voted for it. I can't even begin to tell you the millions we've paid in state testing.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. I'm sorry, Lorick? Is it Lorick? Loic? I've got Jean Lork.
It's loud.
Lauk. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Jean Lauk, and that's why I didn't understand what you were trying to get out.
My apologies.
I'm a special education teacher. I teach behavior disorder mostly. I always come into my classroom and I say, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. It is unfortunate that the delegates, the House, the Senate, you don't mean what you say and say what you mean. I am tired of being told that teachers do not like choice. We want a choice. We want a choice to be able to tell our students that have no homes, that parents are in prison, that we can help them. We want to have that wraparound service. We have a lot of things that we want. Charter schools do not help that. Riffing a teacher that with 25 years of experience does not help. I can come out, student teachers have the same degree as I do. I have 25 years experience. I keep hearing how you guys are spending all this money.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Perry Bryant.
My name is Perry Bryant. Former PEIA Finance Board member and a member of the Governor's Task Force on PEIA stabilization. And I would hope that you would look at compensation to include PEIA and fixing PEIA. You can do this in 3 distinct ways. 1, specify the legislature shall pay at least 80% of the premiums and employees pay no more than 20. This gives you the flexibility to provide, to take care of PEIA, particularly in years where you can't provide a salary increase. It doesn't require anything, just gives you flexibility. Secondly, allow the PEIA Finance Board to make up the 20%, not just in premiums, but other cost sharing, whether deductibles, co-pays, out-of-pocket maximums. Give them the flexibility to do that and not require it just beyond premiums. Third, recalculate how you make the calculation on the 80-20. Don't make it on the total premiums. Make it on future growth in PEIA, and that will fix PEIA and give the employees a stable, secure health insurance benefit and part of their compensation
Thank
package.
you, sir. Ms. McCoy? And could I please have Mr. Dale Lee, Ms. Betty Rivard, Mr. Sean O'Leary, Mr. John Kiesenberry, and Ms. Robin Cutlip. Thank you.
Well, everyone has spoken, well, many have spoken to the failure of charter schools. Teachers are up for change. We want improvement too. We have ideas, but taking our dollars and letting the greedy corporations get their sticky little fingers on it, that doesn't fix things. So if we want to go the way of New Orleans, if we want to go the way of the state of Michigan, then yeah, charter schools, we can follow them right off that cliff. ALEC has failed nationally, but they want us to believe that they have not. They've manipulated statistics to try to pull the wool over West Virginia's eyes again to make people think that charter schools is the way to go, when evidence already shows that's not true. And this continual attack on teachers, I learned as a young woman when I was babysitting, trying to work my way through college, that if you leave the baby...
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lee?
I'm Dale Lee, the president of the West Virginia Education Association, and I want to thank the galleries and the people who came out here. These are the true people, the true experts of public education in West Virginia, who demanded not once, not twice, but 3 times now that their voices be heard. You're getting ready to vote on a bill. These people every day look into the eyes of their students. And they do everything they're doing. They're here today because they want to make a difference for their students. I'm going to ask you, before you vote, look into their eyes. Look into their eyes and do the things that they say that you need to do to improve public education. Here are the experts in West Virginia, not the out-of-state interests. Look into their eyes before you cast that vote. That will make all the difference in the world. Thank you to all of you who are coming. Thank you to all of you who
Thank you, sir. Please keep your comments to the bill. Ms. Rivard.
I can't thank people.
Thank you for this hearing. I'm Betty Rivard, a citizen advocate. This bill is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It got here by tactics as hardball as those used in the Senate. No advanced committee agenda or advanced bill. It is not in the best interests of kids in public schools. This used to be called the People's House. We now need to call it the Anti-People's House. We need to raise salaries and increase wraparound services and go home. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. O'Leary.
Hello, I'm Sean O'Leary with the West Virginia Center on Budget and Policy. House Bill 206, along with the other education reform bills being debated this week, all miss the most important factor when it comes to improving educational outcomes. Even the most well-intentioned educational reform will fail if it does not address one simple fact. The greatest driver of student achievement is their family's income. Good schools are the product of a good and thriving economically secure middle class, not the other way around. And with the 4th highest child poverty rate in the country, with more than 1 in 4 children living in families struggling to make ends meet, it should be no surprise that our schools are struggling as well. The academic and scientific research is unanimous. The lower your parents' income, the lower your likely level of educational achievement. A charter school, an education savings account, or a tax credit are not enough to overcome the challenges and obstacles of a life in poverty. Poverty creates obstacles that would hurt even the brightest student in the best school. The most effective way to improve educational achievement in this state is to improve the economic security of the state.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kiesenberry?
Thank you.
I'm asking you to amend out the charter schools in this bill. There are so many things that everyone says they agree with, and yet we're willing to sacrifice that for something 88% of the public disagrees with. It's like the story in the Bible of the 2 women claiming to be the mother of the same child, and King Solomon said, let's tear the baby in half. But the real mother said, we'll give up what we want for the welfare of the child. We are willing to do that, but we shouldn't have to. We're willing to do that because we don't believe in schools that aren't even required to have certified teachers or provide transportation to our children. And this omnibus approach has been used throughout history. In the Compromise of 1850, they used it with slavery, and it was couched in choice and local control, and something spread to where it had never been, and it divided us and tore us apart. The Bible even says a small spark starts a mighty forest fire, and we don't want the slow burn of public education started.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cutlip?
I am Robin Cutlip, and I am an advocate and an ally for all. The only thing this bill does is bring back segregation. This bill has a part in it that says that my special education students that deserve a free and appropriate education among their peers. This bill has a section that says that they can be taken out and put into a school just for them. What's next? A school for African Americans? A school for the LGBTQ plus community? I think not. We are not moving forward. We are moving backwards, not because our public schools are going down, because we have leaders that are spineless puppets to bigger and better things that they think will come to them.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I please have Ian Helmick, Deborah Akers, Fred Albert, Angelia Gilkey, and Kathy Baker? If you would, Mr. Helmick, come straight to the stand. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you all for meeting with us today. I'm Ian Helmick. I'm from Morgan County. My wife is a teacher, and we have 2 students in the K-12 system. Yesterday, prior to coming up into the House, we were told that this is traditionally the people's house, listening to the people of West Virginia. You're not. We're not listening to the people of West Virginia right now. I'll concede some people will like the concept of a of a charter school, but those are in the minority. We have the data from the state roundhouse tables, and nobody is listening to them. Tomorrow, we celebrate West Virginia Day. 156 years ago, we said, no, let's do what's right for West Virginia. Listen to West Virginians. Listen to West Virginia people. Listen to West Virginia students. Listen to West Virginia teachers. Say no to charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Akers?
Good morning. I'm Deborah Akers, Superintendent of Mercer County Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about an educational issue, and I will speak only about charter schools. Much of the discussion in West Virginia seems to center around the idea that charter schools are needed because of the achievement level of our students. Let's look at what the research says. One of the most comprehensive longitudinal research evaluations conducted to date was completed by the Center for Research on Educational Outcomes at Stanford University. The results indicated that in reading, charter schools outperformed their traditional public school counterparts by 1 standard deviation. However, in math, public schools outperformed them by 1 standard deviation. In this study, the majority of the schools serve middle school students. These results do not give us a clear indication that charter schools are the answer to higher achievement. In another study, the achievement of 4th graders on the NAEP was analyzed. The results: public schools versus district-affiliated charter schools. Reading, no significant differences.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Albert.
Good morning. I'm Fred Albert, president of AFT West Virginia. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I just want to say, though, why are we here? Are you really listening? Come on, 60 seconds. After we have sat in these galleries and listened to the delegates debate bills, sometimes till after midnight, I think you owe us a little more than 60 seconds, and let us complete a sentence. Are you listening to the citizens of West Virginia, or are you listening to the DeVos family, who ruined public education in Michigan? And the statistics show that after they infused Michigan public schools with vouchers and charter schools, in 2003, before that happened, 4th graders in Michigan ranked 28th in their testing. Afterwards, in 2015, they now rank 41st. You say West Virginia is only one of the 4 states that don't have charter schools. I think we should wear that as a badge of honor. Maybe we're doing something right in West Virginia.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilkey.
Hello, my name is Angela Gilkey. I'm a teacher at New Haven Elementary in Mason County. First, I am a resident of the state of West Virginia.
Ma'am,
Second,
please forgive me for interrupting. Could you move the microphone up?
Sure.
We'd like to hear you. Thank you, ma'am. My apologies.
It's okay.
Your time's been reset.
Okay. My name is Angela Gilkey. I am a kindergarten teacher at New Haven Elementary in Mason County. First, I am a resident of the state of West Virginia. I am a taxpayer of the state of West Virginia. I am against my money that I work for, that my husband works for, going to these charter schools that are corporately ran. I'm against these ESA accounts for people that's choosing, that has the means for private schools. I feel that if you want to improve the schools in West Virginia, then update the school aid formula. I'm under the assumption that was sometime in the 1990s that it was updated last. Fund the unfunded mandates that the counties has to abide by. Listen to those that's in the classrooms. I invite any of you to come to my school and job shadow me for a day. See what, I'll even give you my...
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Baker, could I please have Amy Jordan, Jenny Craig, Celio Valedo, Jenny Santilli, and Tanya Stewart Reinhardt, please. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kathy Baker, and I teach at New Haven Elementary also, and I'm a kindergarten teacher. I am a voice for my kids. My kids don't have that voice, unfortunately. I want to tell you about one situation that is in my classroom that's still in the primary sector of our school. I went to the child's father's viewing at funeral home. He had been in the penal system for the entire year I had the child, and every month the child would come to me and say, when Daddy gets home, he's going to do something for me. He's going to do this. He's going to teach me how to play ball, whatever. And I would say, oh, that's great. Dad got home. First night home, he managed to go out with his buddies, get high on drugs, and died. I went to that little boy, I went for the little boy, and I seen that child shake his father in the casket trying to wake his dad up. Now, that child doesn't have a choice.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Jordan.
Standing here today is way out of my comfort zone. I'm much more at ease speaking in front of my first grade class. But as a mother, a teacher, and most importantly, a citizen of our great state, I was compelled to speak to you today. My comment is short and simple. I'm heartbroken, angry, embarrassed, and confused that we are still here. Why? Why are we going through this again? The public has participated already in your multiple hearings, surveys, forums, listening tours, and town hall meetings. The results of what your people want for public education have been heard over and over, loud and clear. What else could we possibly say here today? Why haven't you listened to us? Why haven't you created and passed bills based on research that drives student achievement and fixes the issues of public education? Why invest our precious funding in a new choice that's already been proven to fail? I urge you to start listening to the true experts and vote our students first.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Craig.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Jenny Craig. I'm the president of Ohio County Education Association and a special education teacher in the middle school in the community that I grew up in. And I don't have the time to stand here today like some of the charter school lobbyists did, or I would cite the overwhelming body of data that prove that charter schools do not improve student outcomes, that they are categorically discriminatory towards children with low socioeconomic status and students of color. But I will, however, cite an important number. 88%. That's the percentage of West Virginians that participated in forums that spoke against charter schools. The people of West Virginia have spoken. The halls of the People's House are once again filled with teachers and service personnel with such a commitment to our students that we are willing to give up a much-needed pay raise. Are you prepared to answer and listen to the people of West Virginia, or will you let an outside agenda that seeks to profit off of our already strapped education system dictate the agenda? We have a long history of being...
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Oliveto.
Hello, my name is Chayla Olivito and I teach in Marion County. I would like to focus on the underlying argument for the need for this bill. The justification for the need for charter schools is that West Virginia is failing in education despite proven data sets like the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission's report and our ACT scores that show we are succeeding and improving every single year. So why does people say that we are still earning C's and D's? The metrics of the letter grades actually judge us on the number of people with college or advanced degrees that reside in the state, the median level of household income, and in some instances, access to infrastructure and transportation, none of which is related at all to what goes on in the classroom. So if we're really talking about choice, the decision has already been made for our students when they are forced to pick between staying in the Mountain State and seeking employment elsewhere. If you are supportive of this bill and truly concerned about choice, please work to bring more gainful employment to our state, thereby giving our students a real choice, the choice to stay and make us look as good as we are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Santilli.
Delegates, you are at a crossroads. Do you remember why you became a delegate? To help West Virginians. And today, why will you vote yea or nay in a few hours? Is it because you were threatened to lose your seat on a committee you cherish? Were you promised money for your next campaign? Were you pressured by Senate on the other side? Or will you respect the will of your people? Do you believe from the depths of your heart that 88% of us are lying when we beg you for wraparound services and smaller class sizes? Our children are traumatized at alarming rates, and families and schools need help to save them. Are we lying when we tell you your lack of will to support school employees is decimating our ranks? Today, you choose your people or not. You can say, I will not listen to the empty promises of false prophets from out of state. Have faith in our people, in our school employees who embrace change, but who foresee the damage of promise.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Stewart Reinhardt, and could we please have Mickey Blackwell, Deborah Sullivan, Amanda Vaughn, Brittany Bartlett, and Britt Cooper. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tanya Stewart Reinhardt, and I proudly serve the students and families of Harrison County, including my own 3 students. Like others before me, I brought a visual aid to help me with my 60 seconds.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Mickey Blackwell? My apologies, sir. Mr. Blackwell.
What I would really like an apology for is the fact that on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., I get 60 seconds to speak, while out-of-state lobbyists had all afternoon yesterday to do so. That is what I want. The second thing I ask is that the 10 to 12 folks who voted against this nonsensical bill, who crossed the aisle, turn their backs on the threats, turn their backs on the speaker who has made promises to them that they cannot follow through with, to threaten to take you off committees and come back and vote against this bill. Tomorrow is West Virginia Day. Let's make today West Virginia Students' Day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sullivan.
I'm Deborah Sullivan, and while I'm honored to serve on the State Board of Education, I speak to you today as a private citizen, having spent my entire career in public and private education. It is counterintuitive to me that legislative proposals continue to imagine ways to erode our public schools by diverting public funds to support private options for a few. While families have every right to opt out of the public school system, they should not receive public funds to do so. These funds must be reserved for public purposes with accountability, oversight, and transparency. Private school tuition tax credits, educational saving accounts, and tax credits for businesses funding private school scholarships all undermine public education. West Virginia faces multiple challenges, but research and common sense tell us that the best way to increase student achievement is by raising families out of poverty.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Vaughn?
Hi, my name is Ms. Vaughn, and I teach in Cabell County Schools. Those of you who know me know that I am very vocal about what I believe, and I am very vocal about how much I love my students and I want to support them. And my problem with this bill is the fact that charter schools are being promoted, but they're not really we're not being given any reasons to really support them. I sat in the gallery of the Senate and I heard senators say, well, Democrats wanted this 10 years ago. Okay, well, we have 10 years with research. Find something to back it up. Show me where an area like West Virginia, where these work. They say, well, we need more choice for parents. I'm not against choice, but tell me how taking money from my public school and from my children is going to help the overall good of the state. When my students do research and try to sway my beliefs on something, they know they can, but they have to research it, find statistics, find reasoning to back it up. It's said that I have higher expectations for my students than we have for some
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Bartlett?
Hello, class. How's everyone today? I'm Brittany Barlett. You've probably heard me before up here, but I'm wondering if the microphones are on because nobody's been listening. I heard that Speaker Hanshaw was threatening delegates with being stripped of committee, which sounds a lot like bullying to me. And we teach our students to stand up to bullies, so we would really appreciate it if you would stand up to yours. Is my delegate here, Delegate Patrick Martin? No. I teach in Upshur County. Is Delegate Robbie Martin here? No. All right. We all know we don't want charters. We've been pretty loud about that. We don't want ESAs. We've been pretty loud about that as well. So if you can take those into consideration when you make your vote today, we would really appreciate it. We know that 90% of this bill is good. So pass that and argue the rest later. $105,000 right now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cooper? And could I please have Andrea Sheldon, David Roby, Brian Doherty, and Levi Billiter. Thank you. Please.
When we chose to work in the schools, we knew that our jobs would be all but impossible. We knew we'd never be rich, but we did not know how many of us would require food stamps to adequately care for our families. We knew we would buy supplies with our own money, but we did not know that we wouldn't be able to afford proper medical care. We knew we would never be famous, but we did not know that we would be transparent, invisible to the decision makers who are so nearsighted they cannot see beyond the Capitol steps. We did not know that our students would cease to exist in the eyes of our government with the exception of free meals, so thank you for that. We did not know our year-end training would be learning to plug gunshot wounds. We knew we would be overworked and understaffed, but we did not know that we would be told one counselor is enough for 2 schools and 1 psych for 7. These last 2 years, we knew we would have to fight greedy teachers begging for help, more counselors and nurses, school workers and social workers and school psychologists. What's a school psychologist? I am. We gather here today and we won't stop until there's adequate support in every public school, until we are treated as professionals in the workforce. No physicist got there without some darn good teachers, and we won't stop until our kids feel safe at school. We work in public ed. We are West Virginia proud.
Andrea Sheldon, and I'd like to talk about the 10 reasons why that we need charter schools and ESAs. Sorry, I can't make that cricket noise because we don't. This omnibus bill, that's a stupid name. Why don't we call it what it really is, which is Betsy's bill. What we really need to focus on is that cherry picking students is going to be an issue when it comes to charter schools. We have currently all kinds of positions open. We need more teachers. We need more personnel, yet we're not going to have them. We're running people out of the state. Teachers aren't social workers. They're superheroes, and so are the school service personnel, but they're not social workers. We need wraparound services. We need money to fully fund the public education system. We need to fix PEIA. We need to give these hardworking educators and school service personnel a raise, fix our roads, invest in infrastructures, give money to our social service programs and our waivers, and stop wasting our time and money
Mr. Roby.
with person.
I'm a father of 5 from Mercer County. There's a false narrative that 88% of West Virginians are against charters.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. Could you raise the microphone? Sorry. And we reset your time.
Better?
Thank you.
I'm a father of 5 from Mercer County. There's a false narrative that 88% of West Virginians are against charters, ESAs, and education reform. This line has been repeated numerous times by teachers, unions, and even legislators. WVDE's West Virginia Voice final report, May 2019, states 88% opposition to public charter schools. The concerns voiced during table discussions are mirrored by the comment card question responses. Of 690 comment card respondents, 88% disagree with creating charter schools. Less than 1 in 10, 6% strongly agree with proposal. 690 comment card respondents do not represent 88% of West Virginians. We understand that not all teachers are against charters and ESAs. It is not the children of West Virginia who are 48th in the country. It is an outdated and broken system that is 48th. If education reform can't be decided here, put it on the next ballot and let every West Virginia citizen be heard concerning charters and ESAs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Doherty.
My name is Brian Doherty. I teach at Ritchie County High School. I went to 5 educational forums. I'm wearing purple. Show solidarity with my teacher brothers and sisters, as well as the service personnel brothers and sisters who help our kids every single day, 180 days a year, because they have to bring in their A game. If they bring their C game, that's not good enough. They don't get an extra session to bring their A game. They got to bring in 180 days a year. Our kids need counselors. I've been talking for 2 years. Our kids need counselors. I was in D.C. yesterday telling them we need help recruiting social workers to DHHR, counselors for our schools, nurses too, not one or the other. They need both, and they need it now. Here's a lesson from a civics teacher. You take the easiest, most obvious answer, and you put it on its own bill, you vote on it, and let's build from there. Because I'm wearing purple, because I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. I really don't care. I want to fix our schools for our kids in all schools in all counties.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Billiter.
I'm a teacher for students.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Billiter. And may I please have Mr. Fred Albert. Is this the same Fred Albert who's already spoken?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we'll skip you for right now. Could we have Jill Lafere, Jenny Anderson, Jasmine Aliff, and Liesa Kelly, if you don't mind. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Levi Billiter. I'm here representing the Putnam County Education Association. Since some of our delegates didn't show up today and some of them have already just left us here, I'm really not going to go ahead and beat this dead horse again. You know what I'm going to say. You've heard what the people of West Virginia wanted. You know this bill is simply an attack on educators, unions, and low-income families. So let me teach you a lesson on civics. This House represents about the average classroom in West Virginia. Half of you are engaged and participating. Half of you are being distracted, usually by a couple individuals. These individuals are seeking attention and will get it any way they can, usually through bullying other students. I don't know if you noticed the sign on the front door that says, "No threatening behavior." This week, last month, we've seen it out of the House and Senate being threatened to remove from
Thank you, sir. Ms. Lafere.
As someone who's married and has been a mother for 21 years, I am no stranger to compromise. For that reason, I can appreciate your willingness and your attempts to compromise, but there are some things that cannot be compromised. Choice is one of those things. Supreme Court Justice Scalia once stated, "Words do have a limited range of meaning, and no interpretation that goes beyond that range is permissible." The words of our state's Constitution do not leave room for interpretation. It states very clearly that no independent free school district or organization shall be created except expressed by a majority of the voters voting on the question. Perhaps I'm far too optimistic to believe that the majority of you would knowingly seek out ways to destroy our republic by compromising the people's constitutional right to vote, but you are. And I absolutely do not respect, nor will I stand for your willingness to compromise my children's, and every other West Virginian's constitutional right to vote on this issue. Someone here today said we don't have choice if we don't have a choice to make. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Anderson.
So I stand here today not as a teacher, but as a West Virginia parent of a student that's in public school. Insanity. I-N-S-A-N-I-T-Y. Insanity. One definition is doing the exact same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. The goal of education betterment has become the definition of insanity. This is the third public hearing that I've spoken in personally since February. So why are we here? This is insanity. Charter schools are not the answer. No, it will not solve the root issue. Therefore, as a West Virginia parent of a public school child, I hope and pray that if you pass one charter school, that the teachers do not go back in August. I will not send my child back in August. And if students don't go back in August, that's not on the teachers, that's on you all. We have all spoken, but have you listened? I represent part of the 20,000 parents, the 88% that said no charter schools. And right now, you're going to hear.
Ms. Aliff.
Students from Charleston and Boone County are standing together again today. We share the same position that the majority of people in this room share. We are against House Bill 206. We thought that the House was going to use this taxpayer-funded special session to consider standalone education bills that could be evaluated each on their own merit. Instead, the House Republicans have introduced this new omnibus bill, HB 206. There are many, many concerns that are not being addressed because of the unnecessary speed at which the session is trying to push charter schools. The first concern is why the legislature is trying to push charter schools in the first place. A series of online surveys and public forums demonstrated that the vast majority of West Virginians were against creating charter schools. Who stands to profit then if it's not for us? Whether they allow 10, only 3, or an unlimited amount of charter schools in our state, we know that that they could negatively impact our students. 25.5.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kelly, could we please have Mr. Jasper Ball, Alicia Lewis, Tammy Glover, Heather Ritter, and Karina Rouse. Thank you.
If charter schools are all about freedom of choice, why are differently able students choosing to attend public schools at a much higher rate? And if this omnibus bill, like the others, is meant to be about serving students, then why doesn't research show charter schools improving students' academic performance? We are asking that the House not go the same way as the Senate and keep pushing this omnibus bill forward that ties important things that we desperately need, like pay raises for our teachers and more money for mental health services in schools, to things that we don't really need that could hurt West Virginia kids, especially those in poverty. If the House really wants to do the right by West Virginia students, teachers, parents, and communities, they will reject HB 206 and focus on individual pieces of legislation that move us forward. Fully fund our schools, pay our teachers better, and fix PEIA, and see what public schools can do. Decrease class sizes and hire social workers to serve every single school and watch students see what they can truly achieve. Give teachers more flexibility in the classrooms and invest in them, and you'll see that we don't need.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ball?
My name is Jasper Ball. I recently graduated Capitol High School. And I came here to persuade our legislature that we can take a different approach than the one we're taking. We've been in this impasse for months now, and this same bundle of legislation is being tried for the third time. It has failed every time, not because of unions. It has failed every time, not because of greed. It has failed every time because the legislature shows great perseverance in including unpopular, unlawful, and unsuccessful elements. It has failed because the branding does not cut through the fact that we need to actually solve the real issues rather than to serve the perceptions. The perception is that charter schools would serve to create a competitive environment and reduce the inefficiency inherent to government. This is simply a non-applicable comparison. But if you want to speak about economics, we have actual problems that can be solved using basic principles. We face a teacher shortage, and I present a very simple solution. Increase the pay. Make the career a viable option for somebody like me who's going to college and is trying to decide their major. It's as simple as that.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Lewis.
Hello, my name is Alicia Lewis. I'm a secretary in Cabell County. On May 21st, Speaker Henshaw stated, and I quote, "We spent a lot of time on Senate Bill 451 during the regular session talking about things that were, at least in the minds of the members, things that they wanted to consider as standalone pieces. They wanted to consider charter schools as a freestanding concept. They wanted to consider the school funding formula as a freestanding concept. So that discussion is difficult to be had in the whole basket of a single bill. But yet here we are again with a single omnibus bill, this time created in this House. So what happened? Who got to you? Was it Mitch Carmichael? Betsy DeVos? I've been told that you don't want to separate it because the Senate won't vote on separate bills and you don't want the good stuff to die. Well, I say, then let them fall on that sword. That will show that their interest really isn't bettering education in West Virginia. You had listening tours, but have you really listened? I see.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Glover.
Good morning. I'm Tammy Glover. I'm a secretary at Cabell County Schools. You're looking at 36 years of seniority or experience, because seniority equals experience. I have been asked to help many times in the job that I do, parents, teachers, lots of people. Sometimes I'm paid, sometimes I stay after because they can't deal with the computer problem they may have while the students are there. I've never once said, sure, I'll help, but what's in it for me? And I feel that's just what this bill's doing. Our students need wraparound services, but they're being held hostage because this legislative body wants what they want, not what West Virginia wants, but what they want. They're saying, what's in it for me? Sure, we'll help the kids, but you got to take charter schools, you got to lose your seniority, you got to have more kids in the classroom, you got to have open enrollment. Break this bill up. Show that you care about students and give them the services they need and get the cobweb of sticky, greedy strings off of it. I wonder, who's holding your strings? Who's the puppet master? Because you're sure not listening to me.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ritter.
Hello, I'm Heather Hayes Ritter. I'm the treasurer of AFT Boone, Local 6101, and I have two little boys that go to Madison Elementary. Delegates, I have one thing to ask you. When you were campaigning and canvassing, knocking on doors, did you ever think that when you got here you would be told how to vote? Regardless of what you thought, of what you wanted, what your constituents wanted, did you think that would happen? I know just in my union, I'm not going to stand for someone telling me how to vote. I will vote how I feel, what I feel is necessary. Please think about this. Don't just go ahead and push something through no matter how many amendments get put to it. It's that whole, putting lipstick on a pig. That's what's happening. Please.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Rouse, and may I please have Brett Masters, Lyda Shepard, David Pushkin, Kathy Dunlop, Tim Bullock, please.
Hello, my name is Karina Rouse. I'm the president of AFT Boone County, Local 6101. Psalms 121. I lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. Folks, when we got here, we were told that the House was our hope. The House of Delegates was our hope. The House of Delegates was our hope. Unfortunately, the evilness that surrounds our world reached into this mighty body once again and ripped out the heart of West Virginia. This body of delegates has fantastic individuals here. Some of you are my friends. Some of you I pray for constantly because you don't consider me your friend. I lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. Almighty God.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Masters? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Masters?
Hello, I'm Brett Masters from Cabell County. If you don't remember me before, I was up here for my other 1 minute of getting to get to speak. Got all dressed up here, trying to look good for everybody. If you think I'm doing all right, I hope so. Try not to be out of order on that. It's good to be here to speak with you on this. One thing is, I stayed up all night trying to think of something good to come up with that 88% hasn't already come up with. And I thought I had something, but guess what? I have nothing. So up here, I hope I'm not too much out of order here, but I'm going to go over what I plan on doing is going back to my classroom, go back to my shop, because I am the CTE guy, so that's why I was here yesterday. I feel a lot more comfortable in my T-shirt and work boots, but I'm going to go back to my shop and be with my students and teach them to be carpenters. There is carpenters that's been here that come with nothing, and hopefully they can learn something and grow from that. There is still carpenters.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Shepherd?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lyda Shepherd. I'm with the American Friends Service Committee, and I know what you're all thinking, and no, I did not rent this baby for this morning. This is Freddie, or Frederica, if you're not into the whole brevity thing. So we'll see how this goes if she's going to want to grab the mic here. So as a parent of a rising second grader at Piedmont Elementary School here in Kanawha County, I stand with teachers and school service personnel. And I have a message for Betsy DeVos, since out of nowhere she seems to be paying attention to what is happening in our school system here in West Virginia. Betsy DeVos, keep your hands off. We do not want your corporate welfare program, also known as charter schools, in our state. We do not want charter schools sucking dollars away from our free and public education system. To our legislators, please pay our teachers what they deserve. Please give our students mental health counselors. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pushkin?
I'd like to use a few seconds to point out for the record that I feel that Delegate Wilson rudely interrupted Rick Martin from the NAACP because Rick Martin was talking about a program that was scheduled to take place in Kanawha County during a summer program would have been paid.
Thank you, sir. Please keep your comments to the bill at hand.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Those are the rules of the House, sir. Please continue.
I am doing that. How am I not? And I'll give up time to hear from you how I'm not. Because I am keeping them to the point, and so was he. Did you not hear what I just said? It's supposed to be a hearing. Hearing requires listening. I've heard more than 88% people today say, do not vote on this bill, vote no on this bill. Vote no on this bill. Vote no on this bill. Less than 5 people have spoken today in favor of it. Vote no on this bill.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dunlop?
My name is Kathy Dunlap, and I teach here in Kanawha County Schools. I teach second grade, and the two most questions that I get asked in my career is how and why. So I'm here to ask, why are we here again? We have overwhelmingly said we are not interested in charter schools. I look at my students who don't know where their next meal is coming from. I look at my students who aren't sure if they want to go home because they don't know if daddy has hurt mommy while they were at school. I look at my students who are born addicted to drugs and are curled in a corner rocking back and forth because they can't handle whatever it is we are doing at that moment. I look at my students, and I don't see my students, I see my kids. And I tell them every day, I love you, I have high expectations for you, and this bill is trying to lower my expectations. My kids deserve more. Sometimes I'm the only one who tells them I love you. and I don't want to see
Thank
that.
you, ma'am. Mr. Bullock. And could we please have Kristen O'Sullivan, Robert Euler, Becky Mandarolo, and Jim McKay. Thank you.
Thank you. I've heard this fiasco referred to as deja vu all over again, Bill Murray's Groundhog Day, but I have a better answer. It's Night of the Living Dead. We live in a place where dead Bills continue to be resurrected, even uglier, even meaner, even gnarlier than they were when they were killed the first time. The people have spoken, delegates. The answer is no. The United States Department of Education, old report on charter schools. Oh, by the way, there's over $1 billion missing nationally, but their own report states that 37% of students that go to charter schools do worse than they did in the public school. 46% show no improvement. Only 17% do better. The rich gets richer, the elites get eliter, and we separate more, we divide. And they're trying to divide and conquer the state of West Virginia. I'm so proud of the state of West Virginia for being one of only 6 states to stand up under the ALEC and Koch brothers.
Thank you, sir. Ms. O'Sullivan?
My name is Kristen O'Sullivan. I am a single mother from Mercer County who is determined to stay in West Virginia, regardless of how hard this body tries to make that impossible. Delegates, you should not be thanked for letting us talk. You will be thanked when you do your job. Public education is supposed to be the great equalizer. School choice is a farce. It's a farce for low-income families. It's a farce for rural families. It's a farce for the 7,000 children in foster care, many of them due to the opioid crisis brought on by outside forces to West Virginia. Do your job. You represent us, not ALEC.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Euler?
So we're going to open 10 charter schools. What are they going to offer? What are their choices? AP classes, advanced placement classes, college credit classes. But what about those failing kids? Are those their choices? No. They want to be carpenters. They want to be plumbers. They want to be welders. Instead of 10 charter schools, let's open 10 vocational schools. Let's give those failing kids a choice. Are we going to do that? No. That's a done deal. So what's their choice? Same choice they've had forever. D for diploma. I've been fighting that phrase for 29 years. What a waste of time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mandarola?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for coming,
I'm
ma'am.
a teacher, I'm a parent, and I'm a taxpayer. Please don't take money away from my students, not on the backs of the public schools. Another way I wouldn't have a problem with. Let me tell you about my classroom, because we haven't heard a lot about that today. I teach at Elkview Middle. I'm a math teacher, critical need. One of our focuses has been and will continue to be growth. How can we as a community of teachers and families support the students and each other to wring the most out of each and every moment we spend together? I have individual meetings with each of my math students on a monthly basis to review their progress, set goals, and answer any questions or concerns they might have. These are 6th graders. As a community, we suffered devastating losses in the flood, and yet we showed growth academically. We continue to show growth. My class showed growth this year. Please don't take money away from my students. I see a lot of wonderful aspects of H-Bill 206. Charter schools is not for us.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. McKay.
Good morning. My name is Jim McKay. I'm a child advocate in West Virginia and the parent of 2 sons, Jake, who just graduated from Weirton Madonna, and Jonah, who's a rising 8th grader at Weirton Middle School. I've seen the value of a public education and a private education. I rise to urge you to oppose House Bill 2006, which picks winners and losers and detracts public support for education and puts it into private, for-profit companies. During the 90s, I had the benefit of being the lead staffer for the West Virginia Business Council for Education, which was part of the National Business Roundtable Education Initiative. I worked alongside Thad Epps with Union Carbide, John Ruddick with Verizon and Bell Atlantic, Dana Waldo with American Electric Power, and other business leaders. And what our motto was private support for public education. We wanted to raise standards, raise expectations, and provide educators the support they needed through high-quality professional development.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank the speaker for allowing this, for providing this opportunity. I'd like to thank the chairman for hosting it. I'd like to thank each one of you for being here, for taking part in your democratically formed constitutional republic. Thank you for your time. This concludes this meeting. I'd like to note that if you do have written notes, you can drop them here with our staff and we'll ensure they're included in the record.